Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live at the waterhole that we have started at the Pateti River in Botswana at Meno, which is a camera that I don't think that I recall seeing very often. So it's an exciting start. But my name is Ben Coley, and a very warm welcome. I'll be with you for the next couple of hours, and we will see all the delights that Africa has to offer, from Botswana to Namibia to various locations in Southern Africa and even East Africa. Wonderful. Thanks to Africam for allowing us to stream you these amazing images, and thank you for joining us. And remember that it's live and interactive, so please do send through to all the usual channels your questions, comments, thoughts, and musings. And it's always lovely to hear from you, and hopefully we can read some of those out and get some interesting discussions going. But for now, it looks like we've started with 3 elephant bulls surrounded by sort of a stripy prison, it looks like, of zebras who don't seem to be in a great rush to get out of their way, which is rather bold from their perspective. Used to things sort of skittling out of the way when elephants walk towards them. Always lovely to see everybody getting along. Fuzzy Dunlop, you're saying happy thirsty Thursday. Absolutely. Well, I think these zebras and elephants would agree with you. Things are particularly difficult this time of year for the animals. The pressure to find sufficient water, unfortunately, never goes away. And it is a tough time of year. Elephant didn't like the monkey, it seems. Not bothered by all the zebras, but didn't like the monkey. I actually saw a photo somebody sent me this morning from Lake Panic in Kruger, which I was only at about a month, maybe 2 months ago. There was plenty of water in there now. Now it's just a dry, cracked, muddy desert with some water in the distance. Amazing how quickly nature takes its grip. Samson, you're looking forward to waterhole hopping? Yep, so are we, Samson. One of the delights this, looking at all the different locations that we've got. Our Zoomies are hard at work, as are the other people in the office. They are keeping an eye on the cameras. I see what you see, so I don't get to choose where we're going, but I will be informed what's happening and where, and hopefully we can bring you a nice variety and diversity of animal and bird life and see some interesting behaviours. Hello, Erica Oldnow. You're in a chilly Cape Town. Well, things are definitely warming up here in the Lowveld. We are forecast to get to about 28, 29 degrees today. And I've certainly noticed a shift in the temperatures over the last week or so. It is the morning after the night before. Again, another supposedly good night for the Perseid meteor shower last night. I was out up until about midnight. with my camera equipment, but regrettably didn't see a single shooting star. So it just goes to show that some years they're good and some years they are bad. But as we discussed yesterday, here in the southern hemisphere, the best time for this particular shower this year, due to moon phases, is well, due to the position of the radiant of this shower, is early morning, at which point we still had about a 75 or 80% moon, which rose at around 10 o'clock. So, if anybody did see a good show last night, please let me know because I saw very, very little. I did, however, manage to get a nice load of data on the Eagle Nebula and the Pillars of Creation, which is a current project that I am working on. Lovely to hear all the noises from the zebras. Dougie Bear, you're saying this is a new cam for you as well. I also don't remember seeing it. We've got Muela in Botswana, which is associated with the Pateti River, I think. But I don't recall seeing this particular camera, or certainly not this particular view, at least. And what a wonderful way to start, absolutely. Shudzi, if I'm saying that right. I hope I am. You're saying you truly enjoy Africa. Well, you are in the right place. In that case, we will bring you many of Africa's finest sights and sounds today. The echoes of those zebra calls off the banks there. Very, very nice to hear. Ace, you're asking if I have a favourite animal. Ace, I get asked that a lot, and I can't categorically state I have. Well, maybe I do have a favourite animal. Probably the caracal is my favourite animal. Not that I see them very often here. I narrowly missed seeing a couple in the park a month or two ago when I was in there, according to the people in front of me who casually told me that a pair had just crossed the road and disappeared into the very long grass. So caracals, I always get very excited if I have the opportunity to see, but I have to say, like many of us, I'm a sucker for a leopard. I know a lot of people get excited with wild dogs and things, but if I had the choice between dogs and the leopard, I'll take the leopard every time. Dogs more entertaining to watch, probably, but aesthetically, the leopard for me is just utterly spectacular. But I'm honestly these days more interested to see unusual behaviour than I am a specific animal. It's always nice to see something strange. I saw some courtship feeding of some ground hornbills the other day. I saw a gymnogene, formerly known as gymnogene, now the African harrier hawk, actually plucking a scorpion out of the branches of a tree. I actually did get some video. I was posted at some point. But those are the things that get me particularly excited. Unusual interactions between things these days. Hello, Mr. Elemental from Western Australia. Greeting everybody. Right, that was a nice start in Botswana. Let's zoom across to the east to Maputo Land and to Tembe Elephant Park. And a rapidly disappearing elephant. A recycled teenager from my home country of England. You're asking if a vast elephant herd would divide into smaller ones and how would the matriarchs be established. It does happen, recycled teenager, and it'll happen in response to the group size and if there are too many animals and not enough food or water, then it's not uncommon for larger herds to split. They may reform, or certainly if they bump into each other at a later date, those bonds will still be there, and there'll be some great greeting rituals, memories of those elephants that have spent time together in their youth. In terms of how the matriarch is discovered or established, what normally happens is in a group, a dominant or an experienced female will be the one to lead a group away. They don't just split off and then sit down and call a board meeting and some sort of voting system where a new matriarch is then nominated. It's normally decided when a specific group leaves, led by one of those mature females. This one is being bundled into the water. It's quite normal for sisters as well to have the matriarchal responsibilities. I know that's been recorded down in Pongola Nature Reserve. I'm not sure if they're both still there, but there were two sisters, one called Antares and one called Betelgeuse, so named after the red supergiant stars, probably why I remember this particular incident. And they split and they are the matriarchs of their own individual herds, but they are blood sisters as well. These two boys just having a little bit of a push and a shove, but all in good spirits. A little bit of teenage testosterone, youthfulness and zest. All very important, of course, for learning the ways to be a fully grown adult elephant when breeding opportunities arise, which probably won't be for another 20 years or so, looking at the size of these two. If these are sort of late teenagers, early 20s, normally not much before 35 or so, where big elephant bulls get breeding opportunities due to the presence of larger, more dominant bulls in the area. So a bit of a waiting game for these young boys, but no harm in flexing the muscles, doing a bit of a moonwalk.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said to dog. Okay, no, wait. My first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Because there's a lot of genetics involved. It'd be like trying to age a person based on how tall they are. Yes, their tusks do grow throughout their life, but they're also subject to wear and tear, and that will be dictated by the strength and the genetics within those tusks, the type of activities that they're using. Are they digging a lot with them, for example? And then, of course, you just get elephants that have long tusks and some that have short tusks. I'm sure we're all aware that we don't see many big tuskers nowadays because all the big tuskers were hunted out, and therefore those genetics have not been passed on. So you could make a basic estimation, but the best way would be to look at the teeth. Ace, you're asking how long I've been a guide for? You use the term ranger, I see. If we're going to be sticklers to the terminology, a ranger is normally the title, if that's the right word, or designation given to somebody who is more involved in conservation as opposed to actually showing guests around. So the park rangers, the anti-poaching teams, people responsible for fence maintenance and conservation work would generally be considered rangers. Those of us taking guests out would be probably more likely to be referred to as guides. But I came across from England in 2007. So, what does that make this my 19th year of being in South Africa? I've spent some time in East Africa as well, working, but officially I've been a guide now for 19 years, although about 14 years of those perhaps in full-time guiding employment for lodges, and then, well, for about 10 years, and then about 5 years of guide training. And now I still do a lot of private tours, I do freelance, and of course, a lot of my time is taken up with my astrotourism work that I do. It's lovely to see a black flycatcher. Some of you might have thought fork-tailed drongo, but look at the much shallower rounded tail. Also lacks the red eye of the drongo and those very established rictal bristles, those like whiskers around the base of the beak. And this is a much finer, more delicate beak than the drongo. The drongo has more of a hook, like a shrike, because it takes larger insects. So a southern black flycatcher, nice to see on camera. So yes, I've spent nearly, I'm going to give away my age, but not far off half of my life over here in South Africa now, and I'm grateful for every second of it. I never thought this would be the way my life would pan out, that's for sure. And it still never gets old, never gets tired. Still take every opportunity I can to go into game reserves, be it with guests or not. I do enjoy teaching these days as well, and sharing a lot of the knowledge that I've been fortunate enough to pick up over the years. And my sort of cameo from a black flycatcher there. It's a spa day for the elephant at the back there. Pool party time. Look at all the vegetation stuck on his tusks. A little bit of bling. So definitely some accessorizing there. It's like people who wear sort of 300 bangles up their arms. Jacuzzi for one, as you say, Samantha. Absolutely, and he is really enjoying his time in the facilities today. generally making a mess. It's like it's like a giant golden retriever or Labrador playing in a puddle. For those of you Darkmane lover as well, as is yesterday, yep, an elephant-tastic day. I'm glad that's made you happy, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more elephants today. Heat of the day, nice water source like this. Perfect time for Ellies to come down and use the spa. A little jacana in the background trying to balance across the weeds as the tsunami reaches it from the elephant. Always lovely to see an elephant having a roll around in the water. Let's head to the western side of the country now, the northwest, to Madikwe, have a look at Tau. And some more Ellies making their way down to the water for a drink. Hannah, you're asking if elephants are attracted to any type of aquatic plants. Strangely, Hannah, I very rarely see elephants eating aquatic plants, and I can give you no obvious explanation. You would think it would be a great opportunity to combine nutrients and moisture in one go. Here at Tau, we do sometimes see the elephants wading out and taking advantage of the sort of the reeds and things that are growing there. But you don't often see them pulling vegetation out of the water and feeding on it. And I can't honestly tell you specifically why they don't do it more. Whether it's chemicals perhaps that are in the grass that maybe, well, they're obviously not very fibrous, but perhaps they're not as nutritious as we would perhaps think. But we don't see it very often. Occasionally, certainly. These water bucks here at Tau, I've seen them feeding, possibly those ones on the left are doing so, with dipping their muzzles into the water and pulling out some vegetation and munching away on it. And I remember at Elephant Pan in Botswana a little while ago during the summer months, we were watching the elephants picking something out of the water and eating. All right, let's head over to Jackie's in the Northern Sands and see what's happening there. Not a lot that I can see at the moment, unless there's something hiding in the shadows. How nice would it be to have a pride of lions or a leopard curled up? Looks like a lovely little alcove for something to take up residence there. One of those scenarios where even though we can't see anything, I guarantee there's some things watching us from the distance.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
The Wild with Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website. Every month, something wild lands in your inbox. From rare sightings and behind-the-scenes secrets to expert stories, seasonal changes, and exclusive travel opportunities, the Wild Earth Journal is your free monthly mailer, packed with the magic of the wild straight from the field. It's fun, it's free, it's full of surprises. Sign up now on the Wild Earth website.
It looks like a couple of things moving in the background, possibly some impala by the look of it, but let's head up to Camelthorne in Botswana. Where we have more zebra. Plenty around in these areas around the Batete River this time of year, of course. We're not in an East African sort of numbers, but a large swathe of zebra moving around Botswana between the river and up to the pans in the wetter months. Tinnis, would I consider myself a bird guide? Yes, I would. I have a bird guiding qualification. I'm a regional bird guide of the savanna biome. I've also done forest as well. One of these days I keep threatening to do grassland because the way it's done here, if you work through the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, which provide a lot of these qualifications for us in the industry, because birding is such a big topic and there are so many to remember, they're broken up into different areas or different biomes, generally speaking. So you've got forest, you've got grassland, you've got savanna, which can also be divided into east and west, you've got the thicket, and various other areas that you can do specific or attain specific certificates for. So I've done savanna and forest, and so I keep meaning to do grassland, but it's actually really quite takes a little bit of time to learn because you have to learn a list of maybe 100 birds by sight and sound, and then get tested on those by the way of slides and calls being played to you, and you have to obviously get the majority of them right to prove competence. But birding, particularly calls, is one of those things that if you get out of it for a little while, those are, for me, certainly are the first ones that sort of start going. I often hear bird sounds and I know that I know them, but if I haven't heard that bird for a while, it's quite difficult to match the sound with the name. But it comes back quickly. I say it's like riding a bike. Spend a week or two out in one of those regions, and you'll very quickly make those associations again. Jacob, you're asking if this is really a farmstead. Well, it comes down to semantics, I suppose. I have never visited this particular place, so all I can really do is tell you what I've. Sure. A stampede. Of what it says on their website, basically, but they offer campsites, they offer tented accommodation. There are some self-catering cottages as well, but yeah, so it's a little bit more of a remote rural place to stop over. It's certainly not a five-star lodge, but great if you want to lose yourself in the wilderness for a little while, and your route takes you past this area. Certainly the most zebras that I've seen at Camelthorne. I pretty much think of this camera as being synonymous with the hippos. We've seen huge numbers of hippos in this area. Nice to see some of them meandering along the bank there. And this one's snuffling around in the water. Having a drink by the looks of it, just to show you hippos do also drink the water. This youngster needs to be careful coming down the slope. Hippo clearing the way, as you say, Jess. Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going on a bit of a whirlwind tour around the continent. Let's head over to Safari Hook in Namibia. Beautiful scenes, zebras swimming, and a whole caravan of giraffe, or a journey of giraffe, or a stretch of giraffe, whatever you prefer. All that very classic pale Namibian dust engulfing everybody. And nice to see a few springbok in the background as well. And I suppose we should give a shout out to the mighty Springboks as the Rugby Championship kicks off this weekend. We've got New Zealand taking on Argentina out in Argentina, and the Boks are hosting Australia fresh off their third test win against the British and Irish Lions. That'll be at Ellis Park on this coming Saturday. Be a tall order for Australia, although they did do pretty well against the Lions in that third test. But I did hear a statistic yesterday that Australia haven't beaten South Africa at Ellis Park since 1963. So we'll be hoping for a good win for the Boks, unless you're watching from Australia, in which case, good luck. Let's hope it's a good game. Catherine, you're saying the waterholes are very productive this time of year. Absolutely. Well, look, look in the background, and that's why. Not much moisture to be had. Even giraffes that can go a few days without water if they need to, due to their very, very efficient digestive system and being able to extract almost everything worthwhile out of what they're eating. But even they have to make exceptions this time of year and take the opportunity whilst they can. And particularly zebras and buffaloes and things being very water dependent because of that fibrous material that they eat, they need a little bit more moisture in the stomach to help deal with it. Maggie, have we ever seen predators here? I have not, but I have to say I don't, as much as I'd love to, have the time to watch these cameras 24/7. If anybody does know if we've seen any predators at Safari Hook, by all means do let us know. But it is not the best time of day to see predators on these cameras. Of course, this is the height of the early afternoon. It's hot. Most of the predators are nocturnal, so generally not a good time for them to come down and have a drink. But you never know. We have seen lion, we have seen leopard on other cameras as well during this time. So we always live in hope. Ace, you're asking if giraffe are capable of vocalizing or producing sound. Yes, they can, but they do it very, very rarely and generally only under times of extreme stress. So if they are being hunted, for example, and being accosted by lions, then you might hear some sort of snorts and some grunts. But that's about as much as you can get from a giraffe. So do they vocalize? Not really. Are they capable of it? Yes, but more enthusiastic exhalations rather than vocalizations, I think. But great to see Iland and also some oryx in the background as well. Lots happening at Safari Hook today. Jacob, you're asking, would smaller animals use giraffe as shelter? A movable shelter, I suppose, if you could take it with you and you happen to be going in the same way. I've never heard of it or seen it happening, but I suppose if the giraffe stood still enough for long enough, something might want to lie in its shadow. We actually see it on safari in areas where the animals are very relaxed with the vehicles, very habituated. It's not uncommon to have a lion choose to come and lie in the shade produced by your game viewer to get out of the sun, but I've never seen it done with giraffe. Although you'd think it would be a perfect place to just walk underneath the giraffe's stomach. It's safe. You just want to avoid a sudden kick, I suppose. Dangerous place to be, though, underneath a large animal like that. I always remember seeing a chameleon get squashed by a rhino that chose that particular area of the road to lie down whilst the chameleon was crossing the road. And it was doing that thing where they sort of become relatively static or walk very slowly at least and put their legs out in front of them and sort of shudder, I assume, to try and look like a piece of vegetation. And unfortunately, the rhino lay down right on top of the chameleon, and that was that for the chameleon. Dogmain Lover, you're asking, have any guests ever upset me to the point where I didn't want to take them out again? Yes, Dogmain Lover, they have. Unfortunately, normally it's a lack of ethics or respect to wildlife. Just people difficult to say. These are not all necessarily my stories, but they happened to people that I was working with, so I have first-hand information of it. But people do some crazy things like throw empty bottles at animals to, quote, see what they would do, or decide it's a good idea to get off the vehicle and approach these animals because they want a better photograph. The only time I've ever come close to really losing my temper was with a particular guest who just basically didn't do anything he was asked to do, kept standing up, kept leaning out of the vehicle, and generally was being rather unethical to the situation. And they wanted to go for a walk after we got back from drive and had some breakfast. And I refused to take the one person out on the walk on the basis of the fact that they couldn't follow instructions and things become a lot more serious out on a walk. And kudos to the lodge. They backed me up and said if I'm not comfortable taking them out, then they're not coming. But that's the only time I've ever sort of refused to take somebody out on an activity, but that was actually for their and the rest of the group's safety more than anything else. KB, you're asking how big is the dam at Safari Hook? I have not been there, KB. I don't know. It's as big as it shows that it is on the camera. I'm afraid I can't give you any specific stats. But you probably noticed we've come over to Serendella now and some glorious close-up views of this hippo. You can see a little bit of that pink tinge starting to seep through those glands on the skin just to help protect him against the sunlight. Oh, it's got a terrapin basking on his back. Having a good stretch out.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
My full name is Emojis. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I want a camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, and I'm very fast.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a salesman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
So we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
Visit in the garden, which is lovely. Bahati Maurice from Rwanda, you're saying you like the channel and you follow it every day because you have dreams to be a guide. Well, good for you, Bahati, and I hope your dreams come true. Don't get me wrong, it's a hard job. It's very tiring, but it is one of the most rewarding things you can do if you love nature. To be out amongst it every day and sharing it with like-minded individuals is really an honor. But yes, don't think it's an easy job. It's probably the hardest job that I've ever done. In my career, I've had various different jobs throughout the years. This has been the toughest, but still the most rewarding. And it's never too late, I should point out as well. Getting a beady eye from this hippo. Nasty little slash around his left nostril there. But let's head up to Old Donyo in Kenya for the first time today. I wager there will either be elephants or zebras. Let's go have a look. It is elephants, with probably some zebras and giraffe waiting in the peripheries, which is the norm up here. But always wonderful to catch up with some of these big wrinkly bulls that frequent Old Donyo. Maybe we'll be lucky and one ton will make an appearance. Let's cross fingers and see. Bardi, good luck in your dreams to become a guide. But also remember that I would say 70% of a guide's job is dealing with people, whereas 30% is actually acting as well, you're always acting as an ambassador for nature, but you will spend a lot of your time dealing with people. And you must be a good communicator. You can have the greatest knowledge in the world, but if you can't explain things to people in an entertaining and understandable manner, unfortunately, your knowledge becomes irrelevant fairly quickly. So you have to do a lot of, or have to have a lot of people skills, hosting skills, communication skills, understanding of body language, how to tailor an experience as opposed to just following the radio around and pointing at animals. Dealing with expectations, dealing with potentially disputes, or at least having guests with different viewpoints or different interests. You do a lot of juggling and you become quite the mediator as a guide. Not to mention, you'll also be the first port of call if a guest has any problems during their stay with regard to any other part of their trip. You'll probably be the one they come to because you spend the most time with them and you build up that rapport and they trust you, and you'll end up, so to say, mediating a lot of these things that need to get sorted. But you're responsible for giving people, hopefully, an experience of a lifetime, so it is all well worth it. Yeah, nice to see some big old bulls, but sounds like we're going to pop into the Hitsbay Endangered Species Centre, I assume to catch up with our little cheetah cubbies. And there they are. I haven't seen these for a while. Wow, they've got spots. That mantle is beginning to disappear. Honing those hunting skills on Mum's tail. Raw, you're asking, have I noticed how most wild animal names can be singular or plural? For example, 1 elephant, 5 elephant, 1 giraffe, 7 giraffe. I suppose, yes, raw. Normally they would have an S on them. I would normally say there are 7 giraffes and a 7 giraffe over there. No, maybe you're right. I hadn't really thought about it, raw, but it's... Oh. But yeah, good point. We do. Mongoose is the classic. What do you call lots of mongoose? Is it mongai, mongooses? Who knows? Well, we do know it is the same word, mongoose, and lots of mongoose, unless it's multiple species, in which case there would be various mongooses of different species. This youngster is not taking no for an answer. Getting the evil eye from mum. That's it. This is how youngsters learn. Oh, to be a mother, hey? My turn to play with the tail. Poor Catherine, best reserved for birding. Oh, it's really hard to say, Catherine. It depends on what you're going for. In a perfect world, obviously you want to do it in summer when the migrants are here, and you want somewhere that's got a nice diversity of habitats, from some wetland areas to some open grasslands to some bush veldt. If you've got forest as well, the more different habitats, the more chance of finding more different species. I would say personally, the best place within this vicinity would be to go up to the Porphyry region of Kruger, which is where I was fortunate enough to be a couple of weeks ago, where I did tick off a lifer. Got myself a lemon-breasted canary close to the Porphyry Bridge, which is one that I've been looking for many, many years. So that was a big coup for me. There's plenty of birds up there that is the only place that you can see them within southern Africa. Has an incredible diversity of bird life, particularly in the summer months. But the problem is, there's not a great road. Well, there is only one road that you can drive through yourself, unless you're staying at one of the camps there and have access to more areas that you can go birding. But in terms of diversity and what you can find up there, I would probably say the Porphyry region. Attracted most people's attention over here. Erica, oh no, I don't know if they've been sexed yet. If anybody who is an avid viewer knows and can let me know, that would be great. So yeah, I don't know, Erica, is the answer. I haven't checked if they've released that information yet.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
here. That may just be recency bias. But in terms of other larger individuals, personally, I think that yes, if you took a poll of all of the big elephants over the age of 40 and weighed them all, I think you probably would find that the Kenyan ones are slightly larger. May have something to do with the tropical temperatures up there and having a larger body mass or larger volume versus surface area ratio to make it a little bit easier to stay cool. But I don't know if there's any significant difference. Also, just back to these cheetahs, I see I've had an update. Apparently, according to sources, the HESC is going to be opening the gate on Sunday for these cheetahs to leave for their new bigger boma, their bigger enclosure. So I don't think we'll have this camera beyond that, which will be a shame. But I'm sure we'll get regular updates as to how these little ones are doing. Dolly Flop, you're asking if the mother would grieve for a lost cub or kitten. Grieving in animals is a difficult conversation to have because what is grieving? Is there an appreciation and sadness? Well, I see sadness as a human emotion as well, or as a human term. It's a very difficult question to answer, Jolly Flop. Is mum aware and probably sad? I would think so. Um, but they don't generally seem to attribute quite as much emotion towards it as perhaps we would do, having greater emotional intelligence, if we can say that. Um, they seem to deal with it relatively quickly and to sort of get on with life, really. But I like to think, well, I don't like to think, but I'm fairly sure that they do grieve in their own way, just perhaps not as visually as perhaps others. Obviously, elephants we know do grieve, and we see it a little bit more in monkeys and primates. It's standing on mum. But I think it's all to do with the capacity of the brain to be able to deal with those sorts of emotions. Oh, tough life, mum, hey? Tail being harassed, being used as a pedestal. But those silvery mantles have almost disappeared now. It just looks like sort of fluffy ruffles around the neck. Not quite as much silver there as there was, that's for sure. No, no, maybe a bit more than I thought, actually, looking at them from this angle. But it won't be long until all of that hair disappears now, another month perhaps. Right, we'll always love you to check in with our little cheetah cubs. Looks like they're settling in for some time at the milk bar. Let's head back up to Kenya and Old Donyo. Yeah, the number of elephants seems to have doubled. Sorry if there are some strange noises in the background. I seem to have the world's creakiest chair today. Rhythmical flapping of the ears just to cool the body. Alright, let's quickly shoot back down to Tembe. We had an interesting chat the other day about biomimicry, the idea of taking animal physiology and their adaptations and applying it to engineering, human engineering. There are many, many examples that we could go into, but I was looking specifically to see if I could find anything that elephant design has helped us with engineering. And it seems there are a few things that elephants have helped us with. Some people have looked at the elephant's trunk and its remarkable flexibility and strength, and it has been used in the design of industrial arms and potentially even sort of rescue bots. So certainly interesting in the field of robotics to have take the idea of the flexibility and the strength of the elephant's trunk. But particularly the skin. We have spoken about the skin before in terms of the sort of the micro-engineering of the skin itself and how the whole organ, remember skin is an organ, is designed to help with dealing with heat. And there are some companies that have created elephant skin tiles, which use textured patterns based on an elephant skin to help trap evaporative moisture and to help passively cool surfaces. Apparently that is something that's been done, which is unsurprising. And also something involving the little whiskers that you get around elephants' trunks as well, which are sensory things, obviously, for sensing vibrations. Also been utilised in the robotics industry and prosthetic touch feedback for people requiring prosthetic limbs. So some interesting stuff happening. Jason, do any other animals have something similar to a trunk? Not that I can think of. If I'm honest, Jason, it's a fairly unique appendage to the elephant, and obviously it's had ancestors which have had trunk-like appendages for millions of years. There was something, a four-tusked elephant I came across a little while ago from many hundreds of thousands of years ago, which had four tusks, as the name suggests, and also a trunk. The only thing I can think of that has anything similar would be something like an elephant seal, which has got a big nose, but it's not used in the way that an elephant uses its trunk. I don't know of anything else to that extent. Giant anteaters have long noses, but nowhere near the flexibility that an elephant has. Little birds, they're going to be tough to identify. Let's see if we can see. Are they bulbuls? No, they don't look right for them. Maybe there are a couple of bulbuls and something else there. Grey-headed sparrow, maybe. But lots of other interesting examples of biomimicry. The ones I was chatting about the other day with the shark skin and the little ridges that are on the surface of that skin to help channel water for better aerodynamics and also stop things like bacteria and algae growing on their skin, which has been used in ship hulls. It's been used for antimicrobial hospital surfaces. Also in the aviation industry to make things more streamlined. And some of you might remember, I think it was the 2008 Olympics where they started doing swimsuits, which were based on shark skin, which are now, I believe, partially illegal. It was considered too much assistance to the swimmers. But gecko feet as well, and the advent of things like gecko tape being incredibly strong and adhesive without actually having any glue. Gecko tape, I think, is a real thing that you can actually buy these days. And then I got a little bit lost on the whole idea of this idea of glue, and apparently there is a glue that's been developed or is being developed from slug mucus as well, which has applications for surgical glue, for trauma and wound sealing, and being used inside the body because it is completely harmless to tissue in that regard. And another one from mussels as well from the water that obviously bond onto their rocks. And this is something being developed that can actually be like an underwater glue with possible applications in coral reef restoration, fixing things like underwater pipes, and potentially even in the dental industry for things like denture glue. Not sure I'd want glue formed from mussels in my mouth, but who knows? Debbie, do the people that discover an animal name it? Often they do in terms of its scientific name or its taxonomical name. Take the something like a virtual zebra, Equus burchellii. There are quite a few in the birding world as well, Stark's lark and Levaillant's cuckoo. So often is the case. Whether or not it'll be translated to the common name of the bird, I'm not actually quite sure who decides on the common names, but the scientific name often will be the name of the person to document it or to record it, will often be honoured in the scientific name.
This unfolds in front of you.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. Woo! This is action-packed.
My name is Takudzwa Panda Msesani. My scariest moment is when it happened twice. The other time I was with Cedric and the other time I was with Steve. And all those times, it was a black mamba. My favorite meal in camp is gonna be burger and chips.
Hyenas love bathing.
Some of you out there are brilliant at identifying hyenas.
Well, now, why do you think people have got this huge misunderstanding about reptiles?
Right in front of me there was the face of an astounded buffalo bull.
This is live and interactive, so everybody, if you have any questions and comments, please do send them through and let us know what you'd like.
Walking in the athletics, you always have to have one part of your foot in contact with the floor. So they're just power walking incredibly fast, but don't let that fool you. They can power walk faster than you can run. They can hit about 40 kilometers an hour at top speed, which when you've got 5, 6, 7 tons of momentum behind you is not something that you want to stand in the way of. And no, they cannot jump, Chris, not at all. Too heavy. It's quite the meeting of minds, though, causing a little bit of a queue of eland and zebra waiting their turn. I don't think any of them... Well, I was about to say, I don't think anyone's going to be bold enough to go and try their luck. Maybe this zebra is thinking about it. Karen, yes, we do sometimes see Kilimanjaro in the background. We haven't seen it for a while, though. It's been a lot of cloud up there of late, but on a clear day, yes, we can see Kili from this camera. Oh, very bold zebras. I didn't think anyone was going to take the risk in here. See how long they're tolerated for. Closing the circle a little bit. Slightly more trepidation now. Andrea, a good question. Why don't they make this waterhole bigger? I don't know. Andrea is the, again, simple answer. Sorry, I feel I'm saying that a lot today. It'll all come down to the conservation management of the area and the authorities that make those decisions. Yeah, I don't know. It may well have something to do with the amount of water. If you've got a much bigger water hole and you are pumping it, then you need to pump it with more water. So it may be a question if it's coming from a borehole of what their sort of annual yield is from that borehole. That would be one thing that potentially would hinder it. And so, as we said before, it's as much as having artificial water points is a good thing, it can also have a detrimental effect on the environment because it means that the animals don't go so far away because they've learnt that they've got a constant supply of water. And that can have a very much a detrimental effect on the vegetation and the geology and the erosion and weathering of that area and potentially upset the balance of the ecosystem, which would have a disastrous knock-on effect for all the other animals in the area. So in a perfect world, you should have various water points which are rotated throughout the course of the year to alleviate pressure on particular areas for long periods of time. Okay, I think we're going to head to one of the other cameras. I think we're going back to bots. I didn't quite catch where, but let's go check it out. Yes, Menno Aquena back in bots. Robin McLean, you're saying about the bullet train being redesigned on a Kingfisher. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most famous examples of biomimicry where they remodeled the nose cone. They did that to A, improve the aerodynamics, and B, also to allow it to cut through the air a little bit better, because Japan has very strict noise pollution regulations, and apparently there were big issues when it was going in and out of tunnels with the air pressure not being channeled correctly around the rest of the body. It was almost creating like a sonic boom, which was disturbing people. And as you rightly said, they remodeled it on the nose of a Kingfisher. And everything was a lot better. They increased the efficiency of it, they reduced the noise pollution levels, and as far as I know, it has remained that way ever since. Hey, Robin, you're saying you hosted a teacher workshop on biomimicry yesterday. Oh, small world. It's National Science Week in Australia, and the theme is decoding nature. Well, brilliant initiative. There is so much to learn. Nature has had 3.5 billion years of practice. And why on earth would we not look to these animals and to nature in general for inspiration? There are so many other examples, but I was sort of having a look at some a little bit earlier with a woodpecker's skull, the way that it's encased in particularly strong bone and spongy pads, the way that the tongue wraps around the skull to protect it, and kind of something ridiculous, the amount of force that it could actually take, and that's been used by aviation companies in terms of strengthening black box casings, spacecraft landing shock systems to absorb some of that impact, and also concussion reducing helmets for sports and for motorbikes and all those sorts of things. Butterfly wings, and their sort of nanostructures being used in anti-counterfeit currency in sort of airports and looking for those illegal notes. Better, again, aerodynamics for drones, better solar cells. There are countless examples where nature is finally being heard. But I hope it went well, Robin, and you were able to educate people on nature's design expertise, which is both great and diverse. Viviet Riman, you're asking whether elephants are prone to arthritis. I believe they are, Vivette, but can't give you any specifics, unfortunately. I'll see if I can find anything for you. But I think we've looked into this before and established that, yes, they likely do, but I'm not sure to what extent. Okay, so I'm just having a quick look, and it does seem that osteoarthritis is the most common form seen in elephants, particularly on the front limbs, because they have more weight on them than the back limbs. There is not a great deal that can be done except sort of the normal. It seems to obviously be recorded in captive elephants, might be a bit more difficult to know for sure in wild elephants, but unsurprising considering the stresses and strains that are being put on those limbs. And Wildlife Lady, you're enjoying the whinnying of the zebras. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lovely sound. But I think we are actually going to head down for some beach views. Now let's head down to Stony Point. Oh, hello, little penguins.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My name is Takudzwa Panda Msesani. I really want to film an artwork, and it has been my goal. I'll be just keeping my eyes open. The worst driver is Jem. He's driving. Yeah, you gotta be holding on back in there. Yeah? Like in bumps, and I mean, it happens when these things happens when you're actually going for animals usually. But then, yeah, he's driving. Yeah, you gotta put your seatbelt.
Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions.
Animals rely on their senses.
Share your thoughts and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.
Jason, you're asking about whether the penguins will spend their entire life here. Jason, if I'm honest, I'm not the greatest penguin expert in the world, but as far as I know, the African penguins will constantly return to the same area for breeding, unless, of course, something happens, some sort of disturbance, or the food supplies dry up. So do not take that as gospel by any means, but I believe that to be the case. Chris is saying you're struggling to believe that those dussies are related to elephants. I'll say it's one of the closest relatives is an elephant. I mean, they're not directly linked, but they do share similar features. The design of the feet, that near ungulate foot structure, those modified incisors, the internal testes. There are various mechanisms which are very similar amongst the two of them, but I agree it's very strange to consider them related in any way, shape or form. Could you imagine elephants on copies bouncing amongst the rocks? It would be quite an interesting and spectacular sight, I would suggest. Gentle lapping of the ocean onto the sand, very therapeutic. All sorts of lovely little hideaways for little lizards and things in and amongst those rocks, but looks fairly quiet down at Stony Point today. Often that little sort of spit of rocks is covered with cormorants, but just see a couple for now. Like a white-breasted cormorant and some Cape cormorants. Hannah, do penguins ever find food on land? I don't know, Hannah, if I'm honest. I don't think so. I think they're out looking for fish. Whether or not they would feed on fish that are sort of washed up onto shore, dead fish onto shore, I don't know. But I don't know of it happening, Hannah, to be honest. But never say never. 4 white-breasted cormorants and 1 Cape cormorant. Normally far more capes than the others here. Michelle, you're saying these views are making you long for the coast. There are a lot of people drawn to the coast, of course. I'm not a big beach person. Put me on a beach, I get bored very quickly, limited attention span. But give me a spade and I'll dig a hole in the sand. That'll keep me amused for a while. I enjoy snorkeling, going to look for things and trying to identify weird and wonderful stuff. But I've never been one just for lying in the sun, but my skin and the African sun, or any sun for that matter, are not best of friends. I need to slather myself in sun cream for protection, and need to keep applying it as well. Made the mistake many years ago of going to Mozambique to the coast. It was torrential rain for the first 2 or 3 days. Finally, the rain's cleared. I spent 45 minutes on the beach walking around with my binoculars, looking for birds, with my top off, without any sun cream on, and that was me done for the rest of the holiday. I had to swim in a t-shirt, I had to shower with cold water, I had blisters, and I couldn't lie on my back for 2 or 3 days. So, yeah, me and beaches, not best friends. Wesley, you're asking, are marine versions of birds normally bigger? There's a little grooming going on. Well, you get big ones and you get small ones, I suppose, Wesley. Again, I don't know the official. You potentially may want a little bit more in terms of gliding for things like albatrosses, things like penguins, to maybe some fatty dermal layers to help keep you warm. I suppose birds in the ocean, open ocean, though, yes, you don't really get little things like thrushes and sparrows flying around out there, but I think it has to do with design and being more efficient in creating lift with larger wings and saving energy, because it's a bit harder to come down and alight unless you're happy. Taking off might be a bit difficult. But I don't know, Wesley, to be honest, but yes, you seem to be right, more I think about it. Petrels and storm petrels and albatrosses and prions, they're all decent sized birds. Not much activity down at Stony Point. A couple of penguins and one lonely dussie. Often families of them, or one that do live on these rocks right here, but no sign of them all today. Right, well, always nice to check in down on the coast. Let's head back to the bush to Simbavati. Simbavati Waterside, which is where I was a few weeks ago. Did some astronomy training up there with their guiding team. Had some wonderful drives, saw some wild dogs with some puppies as well whilst I was up there. But beautiful waterhole, particularly the one right in front of the lodge there. At a lovely location, certainly. It's like one having a little bit of a swim or a little bit of a roll around in the water on the right, and a youngster on the far left. Just see his head beautifully silhouetted in between mum's legs. Very small, this one on the right, probably not more than about 3 or 4 months old, I wouldn't have thought. Nope, down again. But say, when you haven't got the coordination to use that trunk to accurately spray water where it needs to go, and you're only a metre or so off the ground, far easier just to lie down and have a bit of a roll around, I would suggest. Possibly even do a little headstand. Alistair, you're asking if the calves will be suckling from all the females in the herd. It has been recorded allo suckling in elephants, but to my knowledge, it's not a common practice in that regard. It's doable. I think one of the big problems is the ages. If two elephants are similar age, then it would certainly be feasible under the correct circumstances. But remember, elephants suckle for quite a long time, and there have been various studies done that show that the milk is different that is being produced for, say, a 2-month-old versus an 8-month-old. Those youngsters need different things in their body, and the milk changes. The mother's body creates milk with different percentages of certain minerals and vitamins, if that's the right word, but the things within it that the baby elephant needs changes. And we see that in captive situations where sort of formula has to be adapted based on the age of the elephant. So allo mothering, certainly in terms of mothers looking after little ones and keeping an eye out for them, members who are not their own. But allo suckling itself doesn't happen very often in elephants. These youngsters having an absolute blast. This one having a good bum scratch on the left. Wildlife lady, you're saying, always good to see more elephants. How wonderful. I agree. Particularly with youngsters doing their thing. Allo suckling, of course, much more common amongst lion prides. Also helps that, so generally speaking, a lot of the females will give birth around about the same time. If a new male comes into the area and impregnates a variety of females, they've all sort of accepted him, and he also doesn't want to have to wait too long. He wants to look after his family as one unit. He probably doesn't have too long at the top. So all of those things make sense, safety in numbers, but yeah, not something that's regularly recorded amongst elephant communities.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Full name is Maxine Gaines. Most people that know me really well call me Max. I'm a mum. I have 2 boys. One is 16 years old and one is 14 years old. I'm a very, very proud mama of my 2 boys. I've just always been passionate about leopards. I'm passionate about their conservation. I'm just passionate about everything to do with leopards. I love them.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you will not miss out. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7, and you can even rewind if you have missed out on something. Enjoy the behind-the-scenes video clips as well as fireside chat, or get the early offers on our travel experiences. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Are hippo teeth made from ivory the same as elephant tusks? Well, both hippo teeth and elephant tusks are considered ivory, but different forms of ivory. Elephant tusk is far more sought after. The general differences is to do with the density of it. Hippo teeth are harder, elephant tusks are softer. And it's the lines, the sort of the striations, if you will, the structure of the ivory that's different. So hippo ivory has more of a wavy pattern, or more like a concentric ring pattern, a little bit like trees. What makes elephant ivory unique are by what are called the Schriger lines, which is more of a layered structure. It's difficult to explain, but they're called Schriger lines, but it's just the way that the ivory is formed is unique to elephants. They sort of form more of a crosshatch pattern. And it's different from that of mammoth ivory as well. It has evolved over the years. Really twitchy feet, this little elephant. Picking things up, tossing it around. Looks like it's sort of wandering between different individuals looking for something to do. But very, very nice to see. Right, let's head back over to Madikwe and to Tau Lodge for a bit. See a couple of these Ellies trying to get in the 150 litres of water per day we were discussing. Interestingly, how the young one was very tentative as he approached around the back of the bigger one, just making sure he had permission. Oh, with a few more enjoying a good mud bath on the left. What a mess. Could you imagine if elephants were like pets? I described that one a little bit earlier, like a Labrador rolling around in the puddle. Imagine if elephants were still like woolly mammoths, and then they'd come into your house after a roll around in a puddle or a dust bath and shake the way that dogs do. Imagine the carnage. Rowley, you're saying you wonder if elephants prefer different coloured soils for aesthetic reasons, and that's why they put, and you think that they put plants on their heads to look pretty as well. Well, why not? Absolutely. Nothing wrong with making a fashion statement. A shame that one on the left has got a face full of mud from the adult. Secondary mud bathing. It is quite amusing when you see one with something sat on its head. I saw one the other day with a marula. Well, the other day, it was over the summer, but it had a marula sitting perfectly in the middle of its head while it was just having a little doze under a tree. But maybe animals have a bit of a fashion consciousness. I think I talked about it a month or so ago, but there have been some studies suggesting that I think they were chimps had come up with a craze of sitting with grass sticking out of their ears because one of the more dominant members of the group started doing it, and then everybody followed suit as if to try and be cool like the big boss. So certainly replicating behaviour to try and fit in and gain friends amongst a group or a community is not unusual in animal systems.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Maxine Gaines. Best part of the job, gosh, I just love everything about guiding. I love being able to observe animal behavior and animals behaving naturally. So for me, that's by far the best part of the job. And so what we do here at Wild Earth is develop those connections with the people that are viewing, and maybe just light a little spark that says, you know what, I want to be involved in protecting this ecosystem.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
We are here with a male leopard.
One of the youngsters. Come on, enough's enough. Or is this another male? Yeah, maybe it's another bull. but obviously just came and mediated whatever was going on between those two. They said no balls in the house, not with the kids around. So yeah, you often see, say, youngsters, they'll throw their trunks at even things like birds, they'll chase antelopes around. Um, but yeah, whether they're doing it just because they can or whether they're hoping for some sort of bond, I'm not so sure. It's obviously another young bull who's decided to come and get involved. Very interesting watching the body language, little head shakes and the raised head. It's very equally matched, I would think, looking at size. Oh, Laura Moore, is that what happens to the mud inside their trunk? And does it crust up inside? And how do they keep their nostrils clean? Well, don't forget there's a lot of hairs inside their nostrils, just like we have inside ours, which sometimes need to be controlled as we get older. So I imagine that has something to do with it. And also, don't forget they'll be producing an awful lot of mucus as well, which will help to lubricate that area and stop the mud from building up too much. And I guess with the exhalation, a combination of those factors is enough to stop it clogging up, as you said. But it's an interesting point, Carl. I haven't really thought about that before. Wildlife Lady, I'm glad you've enjoyed today's show. We are down to the last 5 minutes or so, but let's quickly head down to Founder's Lodge whilst we still have the chance. Ah, what a way to finish the last few minutes. A young rhinoceros. But Wildlife Lady, thank you for your thanks. I'm sure FC and all the Zoomies will receive those thanks as well. And saying, I hope I have a good night stargazing. Well, I'm working this evening. I'm going out and hosting an event tonight, so getting all the telescope equipment out, the photographic scope, the visual scope, the laser pointer. We'll be discussing cultural mythology and looking at some beautiful objects. Now the moon is only rising much, much later. We should have some nice dark skies. And the forecast is for it to remain clear, so I'm hoping that that is the case. Erica Oldno, I'm glad you've also enjoyed the show today, and likewise to Darkmane Lover. I know how you love your elephants. It's certainly been an elephantastic day. Come on, little rhino, let's see a little bit more of you than just your bottom. Teasing us with their presence. I think we're down to only about 90 seconds left. I'm hoping this rhino is going to at least pop its head up so we can have a full view before we have to end. Right, let's head back up to Tower Lodge for the last few seconds. Looks like our rhinos are not going to play ball. It's a shame. Nice to know that they are still there, safe and well. Finish off with these two youngsters who are still having their little tussle. But it has been a great show. And thank you, everybody, as always, for your questions and comments. Please do continue sending them through. I'll be back again tomorrow at 12:30 for another 2-hour extravaganza of all our African cams. And I very much hope that you will be joining us. But yeah, that's about it. So thanks, everybody. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will catch up with you again tomorrow.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be discovering real wildlife gems of South Africa. This is a virtual safari filled with beauty, wildlife, and stories. We're going to be visiting unique and diverse reserves, spending time with famous animal characters, and learning some real conservation stories. So remember, if any of the locations featured on Safari Spotlight interest you, our experts at Wild Earth Travel are standing by to make your dreams come true.